Hey there, how's everybody doing today? My name's Damian, and I'm the Assistant Cultural Affairs Officer at the US Embassy. And today we are talking about film festivals. I know that COVID-19 has really changed a lot of people's plans. It's shut down movie theaters, regular theaters. It's closed down a lot of the normal activities that you and I do. But people have found very creative ways to get around COVID and do events despite COVID. And film festivals are one of them. So although many film festivals are not taking place in person, they're not happening face to face, but they're still happening. There are all sorts of virtual film festivals happening right now. So this is a great opportunity for you to apply to film festivals and different types of media festivals. I know that Russians are very, very talented. Russians are very talented when it comes to filmmaking. Russians are very talented writers, screenwriters, script writers. Russians are incredible animators. And so I want to make sure that all of you know how to apply to film festivals so that as you grow and develop in your career, you have some tools that you can use later on in your life to get you into these film festivals and these media festivals. There's so much more than just film, as I'm going to talk to you about. All of the festivals have a dozen categories, 10, 20 different categories for all different types of creative artists. Now, for those of you who are young, who are still in school, there are student categories for you. And that's very important because if you're a student, you're only going to be competing against other students. And oftentimes it's much cheaper for you to apply to these festivals. So I'm going to jump right into a presentation for you. And then when we get to the end of the presentation, if you have comments, please write your comments. Please write your questions. Tell me what you want to know more about. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Now, I work at the US Embassy. So the question is, Damian, why are you talking about film festivals and media festivals? Well, I'm also a writer. I have a background in photography. I have 2 of my photographs in the Brooklyn Museum right now as part of their permanent collection. After ending my photography career and started traveling and working for embassies, I got into writing. And so I started writing comics and graphic novels. And I've adapted some of my comics and some of my stories into screenplays. And what's great about the internet is that if you've got a screenplay idea, you can just upload your script and enter it into a competition. And these days with mobile phones, it's very easy to make a short film. It's cheaper and easier for people to make short films. And so I want to make sure you know how to apply to some of these media festivals, because right now, even I'm applying. I've sent my graphic novel to some film festivals, and I've also taken my script and submitted it to a couple film festivals. So let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at this PowerPoint presentation. And hold on one second. I will go to the beginning, start it. And all right, can everybody see my screen? Great. So we're talking about applying to film and media festivals. And what's important to remember is that film festivals are more than just film. So these festivals are really celebrations of film, but also music, photography, script writing, video games, commercials, everything. So when you start looking around, please, if you make commercials for a living, you can submit your commercials. If you make animated shorts, if you do animations, If you do documentary films, short films, if you're a writer, there's going to be opportunities for you. And also pitching, which we're going to talk to you later. Pitching is very important in the media industry. And so there are pitch fests and pitch competitions to help you learn how to communicate your idea to people who are going to give you money and are going to make your dream into reality. So you've got to learn how to pitch your work so that producers can turn your script into a movie. So how do you apply? So there used to be a really great site called Without a Box. And unfortunately, Without a Box shut down in 2019. So Without a Box was one-stop shopping. It lets you take your script, your screenplay, and apply to hundreds of competitions. So you can still take your script or your screenplay or your short film and apply it to individual film festivals. If you want to go to the Nichols Fellowship, Slam Dance, Blue Cat Screenplay, whatever, you can go on and apply to one and then apply to the next and then apply to the next. But it's very slow and it's very time consuming to do that. So there are two other websites. I'm sure there are more, but here are two websites that I know of that I've used where you can just upload your project one time and then you can just use that one project that you uploaded and you can submit it to multiple screenplay and film competitions. So the one that I'm going to talk about first is called Film Freeway. I don't want to endorse any certain screenplay or film competition or service or site, okay? I'm just going to show you the two that I've used. There are lots other out there, right? And I'm sure there are more festivals in Russia and in other parts of the world that I've never heard of. So I'm just going to share two with you that I've used that seem to have worked for me, that seemed reasonable, and that I've had some success with. So with Film Freeway, what you do is you can browse the different festivals. Some of them are film festivals, but there's animation festivals, there's horror festivals, there's science fiction festivals, all sorts of different festivals. You upload your project and you just upload it one time, but then you can submit it multiple times to multiple festivals. So I actually uploaded my graphic novel, which is called Monitor, and then I also adapted my graphic novel into a screenplay, and I uploaded that. So I've got two projects, and then when a festival has a deadline coming up, I just go into Film Freeway and I click, and I can apply to that festival because I've already uploaded it. So you can take one screenplay and you can just apply to 10, 20, 100 different festivals if you want. And then it tracks all of your submissions. So you just look, you can look and see where I've applied to and where I've had success. So my graphic novel was admitted into the Urban Media Makers Film Festival in Atlanta. The AFIN Film Festival in Australia also accepted my graphic novel. I don't know if I'm going to win that until the actual film festival. So I'm a finalist for that festival, but I have to wait until the night, like the Oscars, right? They roll out the red carpet and then they announce the winners. So I don't know if I'm a winner yet. I won't know until November. So I've got to wait. For the ISA Pitch Challenge, I submitted to that. I wasn't selected as the finalist, but I was given honorable mention. So Film Freeway is just very, very easy. It's very convenient. And then another one is called Coverfly, which is a very similar concept. You upload your project, you find the different screenplays or the competitions, or you find the different festivals, and then you just apply. You don't have to write any sort of special letter or anything. You just click submit and your project is submitted. The thing about Coverfly is it's got a couple different little modules inside it. So there's this thing called open writing assignments. So Hollywood professionals will go in and they'll pop down an idea. They'll drop an idea and they'll ask writers to write about whatever they've come up with. And then hundreds or thousands of writers are all going to dive in and try to write based on that writing assignment. And then an industry professional, some producer, could read it and like your idea and give you a job and hire you to write for TV or for film. Coverfly also has a couple of different other modules, which I'll show you. But here's the ISA Virtual Pitch Challenge. So everything is virtual now. All these competitions and all these tools, these roundtables, these readings, these script readings, and these pitch challenges, they're all online. And you can apply, for example, to the ISA Pitch Challenge through Film Freeway. But Film Freeway also has its own pitch week. They have their own pitch program. So pitching is just really, really important. How many of you know what a pitch is? You know what a pitch is? In Hollywood, it's called the elevator pitch. Let's say you are in Hollywood and you walk into an elevator and you look over, the doors close, you look over, and there's a Hollywood producer standing right there, you know, in the Hollywood producer clothing. And this person's ready to give money out. They're just looking for a great idea. And you push the button on the elevator starts to go up. So how long do you have before that producer walks out of the elevator? Maybe 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. So you've got to be able to describe your film or your animation or your project in just 10 or 20 seconds, maybe 30 max. And it's got to be perfect. So it seems easy, right? Oh, 30 seconds, I can describe my project in 30 seconds. It's very, very difficult to describe your project in 30 seconds because in your brain, your project is huge, but crushing it down, distilling it to 30 good seconds that makes somebody want to produce it and pay money and make it real. It's really difficult. It takes a lot of writing and rewriting of a script and then a lot of practice. So these pitch sessions are important. They're fun and easy to do, but they're a very important part of this process if you're thinking about getting into film, television, animation, whatever. Couple tips and suggestions. One, apply early. So if you go to the early deadline, it's going to be cheaper, right? If you go to the official deadline, it's going to be more. So this one is $65 for the early deadline, $85 for the official deadline, and then $110 if you apply at the last minute. So what I'd recommend is working on your script or your project and getting it perfect, and then going on and applying as early as you can so you can save money. Because it can get extremely expensive applying for all these film festivals. But you don't want to waste your money. You want to know that your project is good before you submit, before you spend a lot of money submitting. So it's important to get feedback. So when you submit to a film festival, sometimes there's an option where you can check off a box and pay extra money and you can get feedback. What is feedback? Feedback is when some producer or some professional reader writes up a couple pages of notes about your script or your project. And what you do is you take the notes, you read them, and if a professional says you've got some problems with your concept, then you can go back in and change your project. So feedback is very important. It's built into some festivals. There are actually festivals called feedback festivals. So if you go and do a search, you will see there's a number of feedback festivals. But there's other ways to get feedback. One thing that's important about feedback is you don't want to give your script to a friend or a relative. Don't give it to your brother. Don't give it to your cousin. Don't give it to your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Why? Because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to give you criticism. They don't want to hurt your feelings. So they're going to say, oh, it's great. I love it. It's great. So you want to get feedback from professionals where you can get a couple pages of really serious criticism about your work. Coverfly has this thing called peer notes built in. What's really great about Coverfly is the peer notes are free. So you have to review other people's scripts. You have to read someone else's script. And when you read someone else's script and give feedback, you're going to get Coverfly points. You're going to get tokens. And then you can use those tokens and you can have somebody else read your script. So it's like a script exchange where you read someone else's and someone else reads yours, and you trade, you share the feedback back and forth. There are other sites where peers can share feedback with one another. So these aren't necessarily, this isn't necessarily feedback from professionals. This is feedback from other writers. And Talentville is one that's very popular. Simply Script, Script Mother, there's a whole bunch of them. The quality on each site differs, but definitely you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars submitting a script if it's not perfect. So you want other people to read your script and give you notes. So another thing about these kinds of projects is when you're submitting anything, you submit an animation, you submit to a photography festival, music festival, it's really important that you be able to describe your work in writing. So you might not think about this. You might think, well, I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I don't need to know how to write about my project. But writing about your project is very important. You need to be able to describe your project in writing so that when you spread it around, when you share it around to these festivals, they're not going to have time to read the whole script or watch the whole movie. What's going to pique their interest is a very short log line and a tagline. All right, that's going to grab people. Now, what is a log line and what is a tagline? A tagline is this. A tagline is that very, very short one sentence that's on a movie poster that tells you what the movie's about and makes you want to see it. All right, and this is one of the most famous taglines in history. So a tagline is a short, clever one-off on a movie's poster, right? And this movie is Alien. It's one of the best taglines ever made. A log line is a movie's concept boiled down to one or two sentences. So most film festivals and media festivals are going to ask you for a log line, and your log line's got to be good. It's got to be really, really strong. So if you go to IMDb, every single movie has a log line here, because I mean, not everyone's going to watch the trailer, right? Most people are just going to look at the poster and then they're going to read one or two sentences, and those two sentences have to be very, very strong. And writing log lines, it's hard, you know. It's an art unto itself that you've got to spend a lot of time working on. You got to spend time making sure that your written description of your project really hooks people and makes them want to read it. For those of you who are writing scripts out there, I highly recommend writing in some sort of script writing software instead of trying to write it in Word or something like that. I use this CELTX, is at Celtics.com. Seems to work for me. I was able to write a screenplay very quickly. But most professionals use Final Draft. There's others like Writer's Duet, and there's dozens of software out there. Some of it's free, some of it costs money. So I think it really depends on how much money you have. Today I'm not going to talk about formatting a script and tips for writing a script and plot and story like that. But script writing software is just a really important tool because scripts are very different from writing a novel. They have a specific format, and this software makes sure that you get it right. You don't have any mistakes in the formatting. When you submit a script to a festival, you want to make sure that the readers are reading the content and not looking at the format and saying, oh, you got the format wrong. So that's the end of my slideshow. There are so many cool festivals out there that I want to make sure that you all know how to apply, and just the diversity of festivals. You know, there's festivals for women, there's festivals for minorities, there's, you know, short festivals for shorts, urban festivals, festivals just for pitches. There's just so much out there. At least you should be able to go to some of these sites like Coverfly and Film Freeway and just browse and see what's out there. For students, the prices are going to be reduced. And in some cases, you'll be able to apply to some festivals for free, or you might be able to apply for a scholarship for the price of that festival, or get some sort of coupon or waiver or something. So if you don't have the money to apply, go ahead and contact them. You know, they've got email addresses on their websites. So go ahead and contact them, tell them where you're from, what you're all about, and ask them if they have, you know, any sort of discount or any sort of scholarship or waiver for that fee, for that application fee. I know myself, I don't have a lot of money, so I can't go applying to all of them. I can't apply to everyone. So I have to be very selective, just apply to, you know, just one or two a year. Yeah. So we got a couple questions and coming in. So do you need to include your CV in the application to a festival? All right, that's the first question. No, you don't need a CV. Many of the festivals are going to ask you for a bio or a writer's statement, author's statement, but not a CV, because they're going to judge you based on your work, on your content, not on your background and your academic record or your work record or something like that. These festivals really are based on merit and talent. If your script is good, it's going to win. If your script is weak, it's not going to win. If your short film is strong, it's going to win. Doesn't matter what university you went to. So a bio is just a few sentences about your background. You know, a bio is just one paragraph, really. If you're very distinguished, your bio is going to be 2-3 paragraphs or one page. But really, a bio is just one paragraph about you, who you are. And then an artist statement. So that's very important for photography, painting, sculptures, things like that. But some festivals or websites are going to ask about an artist statement. What makes you create art, and why did you decide to create this project? But really, the bio is the most important thing. Is it important to have proper background, university degree in order to submit? No, absolutely not. You do not need a degree. This is a great thing about the arts. All art in general, is not about where you went to your university. Art is about what you create. When the judges look at the art, they're going to just look at what you made. They're going to look at your film. They're going to look at your screenplay. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what your academic background is. So cover letter recommendation. Some film festivals will let you submit a cover letter. This is pretty standard practice, but it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. It's a nice thing to do, to write a cover letter, but it's not mandatory. Letters of recommendation. No, they're not going to look at letters of recommendation. That's not important. Like I said, they're going to look at the work and they're going to judge the work. But some festivals, and like Film Freeway, asks you to put, if you have them, links to criticism, like a review of your work. So, for example, if you've got a film that was in some film festivals, and then, you know, a couple websites reviewed your film, you know, it's like filmreviews.com, and some reviewer went on, watched your film, and then wrote a couple pages of criticism or review. There are going to be some of these platforms like Film Freeway where you can put that link, right? It's not necessary, especially if you're just starting out. But if you've already had some success, you can put the link to your successes in some platforms. Your cover letter also can include a link to your successes in the media. So sometimes when I write a cover letter for my graphic novel, I say, yeah, you know, whatever indiecomics.com reviewed it, follow this link to read the review. All right. What are your recommendations on how to improve your pitching skills? Yeah. The main thing is just practice, 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 practice. I'm not very natural on film. I think I'm more natural when I'm talking live, but when I put on a camera, man, I completely change. My mannerisms, my demeanor, everything changes. So I submitted to the ISA pitch challenge, and I filmed and filmed and filmed. I don't know, 100 times. So you really just got to practice, practice, practice. I would say you've got to work on getting the text correct. So spend some time working on the text. And then, I mean, what's nice is that I actually filmed my pitch on my iPhone, on my cell phone. And so you don't need expensive equipment or anything. Some people, if they're making a pitch, are going to pour a lot of money into it. I've seen pitches that are like very well produced and they're very polished, right? They put a lot of money into the visuals of the pitch. But most pitches are just somebody standing there talking, and that just takes practice. Again, you can show your pitch to friends and family, but they're always going to tell you that it's great. So just apply to these pitch challenges. The pitch sessions are cheaper, and most likely there's going to be pitch fests that are free, where, you know, hundreds of people can just go and pitch. So I would definitely spend some time finding some cheap places where you can practice, and just practice, practice, practice. Name your top 3 international festivals where an interested person could apply. Okay, so one very important thing is that you pitch to a festival that's right for you. All right. I can tell you my top 3, but I write science fiction. Well, the project that I have right now is science fiction. So I'm applying to like science fiction festivals, like, you know, cyberpunk festivals and technology festivals, urban festivals. But if you're doing a drama, you can't apply, you can't submit to a sci-fi festival, right? If you're doing horror, submit to horror festivals. So submit to the places that are good for you. So that's my recommendation, is really target your competitions to what works. I also, you know, you have to be careful about some of the really big famous festivals. Of course, you want to shoot for the top, but make sure that your work is perfect before you start going for like the Nichols Fellowship or something big like that. Also, it doesn't have to be an international film festival. You know, go ahead and apply in Russia. There's tons of festivals. It's hard to say. I happened to apply to the festival in Australia because they had the category of graphic novels, which is new. I think because the festival wanted to expand into new territory, they added graphic novels. And so that's why I was able to apply. But it's great with the internet. You can apply anywhere in the world. But I would say apply to what works for you. There's festivals for women. There's festivals for minorities. I'm sure there's going to be, you know, indigenous peoples festivals. I'm sure there's going to be there's going to be festivals for everyone. And if you can target something that fits your theme, I think it's going to be better. But once you are confident, once you've got good work, definitely aim high and aim for the top most popular festivals, whether that's in New York or LA or whatever. That's going to get you the attention. That's going to get people in the industry looking at you. But maybe, maybe you take one project and it wins a bunch of smaller film festivals, and that's how you know that it's good. And then you take it to somewhere bigger. Because I know these festivals are expensive. You can't spend all of your money applying for festivals, right? So I think that's a good strategy. I got a question from Slava. What about some of the big festivals, Cannes, Venice, Berlin? Yeah, like I said, definitely apply, but don't waste your money. Money is precious. We don't have that. You don't have that much of it. Apply to smaller festivals, get the feedback, right? Apply to the festivals. If you don't win, get feedback, polish, make your script better, make your film better, and apply again. Once it starts winning, then yeah, apply to Cannes and Venice or Berlin, sure. If you're gonna shoot for Cannes or Berlin or something like that, you might want to find something local where you can workshop your script or your work. If there's a course or a program you can get into, even virtually, where you can work with top people and go through your script from all the stages, or go through your film and make sure that it's perfect before you apply. I always encourage people to dream big, shoot for the stars, right? Anything's possible. With the internet now, you can apply anywhere you want, from anywhere you want. You can be in a small town. You can make a film on an iPhone. You could submit it. One thing that's important is that you go to these festivals, their websites, Cannes, Venice, Berlin, New York, LA, whatever it is, and see who won in the past. Check out the films that won. And if you can screen them, or if you can watch the trailer, check it out. Same with the pitch challenge. You can watch all the previous pitches. That's really, really important. Everything from screenplays, you can download screenplays. There's whole databases where you can download screenplays from the internet. When it comes to pitches, you can watch all the previous winners from the other pitch competitions. Log lines and taglines. I mean, you could just Google like most famous log lines or best log lines in history, and you're going to get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So take a look at what won the year before or the past 5-10 years, and just check, like, is this what my work looks like? Is it the same theme? Is it the same style? Is it the same quality? Is it the same professionalism? But don't forget about the student projects. If you're a student, go for these student film festivals. Go for the student festivals that are aimed at students, so that everybody's going to be at the same level. It's going to be tough if you are a first-time filmmaker. You make a short 20-minute film, and you're competing against people who have 20, 30, 40 years of experience as filmmakers. So you got to know what the audience of that film festival is and what types of people apply. I mean, think about your career. If you're just starting off, you don't need a Venice Film Festival win, and it's maybe unrealistic if you don't have the whole team, if you don't have the producers, and if you don't have all of the people to make a film and make it happen, the distributors, the marketers, the website, all that stuff. Another question, do you think those festivals will go online in the pandemic conditions? How might the industry change? Yeah, so definitely many of the festivals are online now. For example, I'm part of the Urban Media Makers Festival out of Atlanta, and the whole thing is online. So there's all these different workshops and talks, and even the screenings. So the screenings of the films, they're all online because of the pandemic. So, I mean, I guess in places where the pandemic is not so bad, they're still being held in person, but many festivals are going online. The other thing is, even if the festival is in person, right? Like, let's say there's a festival in New Zealand or Taiwan where there's no pandemic, a lot of people can't fly there, right? You can't necessarily get a ticket and fly to New Zealand right now. Or if you do, you're gonna have to be quarantined for 2 weeks or however many weeks. In Taiwan, it's 2 weeks. And so many people have been submitting their films to these festivals, but then they can't actually go to the festival. So maybe if you win the festival, you're gonna be giving your acceptance speech through Zoom or Skype, right? And you're gonna say, thank you so much, thank you for giving me this award, but you don't have the award because you're thousands of miles away. So the pandemic conditions are changing. They are changing the industry. They're changing the festivals, and they're going online. But that's not a bad thing. And with the pandemic, actually, a lot of people have time to stay home and write scripts. So I think with the pandemic, it's more difficult now to film films. It's more difficult to make films, but writers are very comfortable in the pandemic conditions. I'm a writer, so if you tell me, oh, you've got to stay at home for three months, that's fine because I can write. I can work on my screenplays. I can write. How might the industry change because of the pandemic conditions? I'm not quite sure about that. We'll have to see. But I was really happy that a couple film festivals and media festivals are accepting graphic novels into their competitions. Maybe that's because of the pandemic. Maybe because comics and graphic novels are such a big part of the entertainment industry right now. It's not just Marvel and DC comics that are big players in the entertainment industry, but there are so many small comics, small graphic novels, independent graphic novels that have made it into streaming services and are now they're huge. Is anybody watching The Boys? Right? Anyone watching this show called The Boys? It's like this dark and twisted take on superheroes. That was an indie comic. I think it's out by Dynamite. It started with DC Comics, but then it got taken by Dynamite, which is a smaller publishing company. And now it's on Amazon, and now it's huge. It's just exploding. So comics are really extremely influential in Hollywood, and so I think that is changing. That's changing the industry. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how the pandemic is changing things. But I think it's great that you can do these pitch sessions online. I think it's fantastic. It's really great that you can do presentations or be a part of festivals from home. So because of the pandemic, you can go online and watch some of these workshops and talks that normally you wouldn't be able to do, right? So right now, there are Urban Media Maker festivals happening in Atlanta, and it's all online. So even you guys in Russia can go online and check out the workshops. Of course, it's not the same as being there. The San Diego Comic-Con was canceled and the whole thing was online. It's not the same, right? It's not the same. And I'm pretty sure New York Comic-Con is online. I think Moscow Comic-Con is online too, if I'm not mistaken. It's not the same, but at the same time, more people from around Russia and from around the world can participate. So there's good things and bad things to the pandemic. Hopefully, after the pandemic, these festivals will take, the best parts of the online platform, and they'll keep the good things. Maybe they'll keep doing these online workshops and presentations, but then they'll also go back to doing in-person programs. So we'll see. I know the pandemic is difficult, it's tough, but there's good things to come out of it too. So are there any last questions? Any one or two more questions, comments? Feel free to write it in any of the chat boxes or message boxes if you're on Facebook. And if there's no more questions, we will end for today. But yeah, if you guys thought this was helpful, if you thought this was interesting, please leave a comment. Please say if you loved it, say it was great, it was interesting. if you're coming to us on the American Center Moscow, please hit subscribe. And if you want to learn more about these kinds of presentations, go to the American Center Moscow Facebook or YouTube, and definitely subscribe. The last question: do I have a favorite screenwriter? Yeah, that's tough because I really do. I love film and I love movies, and so it's really hard to say what my favorite screenwriter is. But I just saw that Being John Malkovich pop back up on Netflix. So this is one of these times, rare times, when I actually had the screenplay as a book. The film Being John Malkovich, you can buy it as a book. You can buy the screenplay as a printed version. So I had the screenplay, and I read the screenplay just sitting at home one night. I read it, and I hadn't seen the movie yet. And it was hilarious. If you haven't seen this movie, it's great. It's about these people who can transport their minds into the bodies of other people. And so they decide to transport their minds into the body of actor John Malkovich. And in the movie, he's played by himself, actor John Malkovich. It's a hilarious movie. But I read the screenplay. I loved the screenplay, but I hadn't seen the movie. So I had the whole movie in my mind. And it was funny because I actually watched the movie, and I think I was a little disappointed. I think the movie in my mind was better than the actual movie. As far as graphic novels, I really like Craig Thompson. He came here to Russia a few months ago. He wrote a really beautiful graphic novel called Blankets. And I like David Mack. David Mack is known for his work on Daredevil for Marvel, and also Jessica Jones. He paints with watercolor, and he also writes his own series, which is called Kabuki. I am really impressed with the graphic elements of David Mack's work. So if you get a chance to check out David Mack, his work on DC and for DC and Marvel is really beautiful. The covers are really beautiful, but I think Kabuki is really fascinating, and it's especially interesting to watch how Kabuki evolved over the years. His the first volume of Kabuki was actually a student's thesis. It was actually work for his university, and it got published. It became popular, and then it kept evolving. One volume of Kabuki is actually done with all photographs, and then later it's all done in watercolor. So it's really impressive. And then the last thing is another question: what do I think about online education for filmmakers? This is really tough because right now a lot of people around the world are learning online, and some people are finding that online learning is good, and some people are finding that it's challenging, that it's not the same as in-person learning. So online learning for filmmakers, I can't really comment about that because I haven't done it. I don't have experience with that. I think it would be difficult to learn how to do all the techniques in filmmaking, cinematography, lighting, and things like that. I think it would be difficult to do online. I think you can watch some programs, documentaries, and you can do quite a lot of things online. But filmmaking at its core is about teamwork. Very, very few people shoot and edit and do the music score and do all the parts of a movie by themselves. Even if you're doing it on an iPhone, it's still hard. It's still teamwork. I mean, as soon as you get a filmmaker and an actor, you've got two people. But the bigger your film is, the more people you need. And even a small film, even a low budget film, there's just so many people involved in making the film, editing the film, scoring it, to marketing it, distributing it. The actor, the screenwriter, there's so many people involved. And when you have lots of people together, you always have conflict, especially when you're dealing with art where it's subjective, right? One person says, I like this better. And one person says, no, I like this better. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be argument. And in filmmaking, you need to learn how to resolve the arguments and the conflicts. Conflict is natural, right? Conflict is part of life. What can you do, right? People disagree. It's just the way life is. And you've got to figure out a way to get past it. It's really hard to do teamwork activities when you're learning online. But if you're a writer, I would say writing is really the perfect medium for online learning. There are lots and lots of different writing workshops and courses. There's a couple in the UK that I've gone through, where it's great because your teacher gives you a writing assignment. You go and you do your writing, and then you email in your submission. Your teacher and your classmates all read your work. You give feedback, and then you move to the next assignment. I think screenwriting and writing novels is really a perfect thing to do online. It's ideal. You really don't need to be in the classroom to do these writing workshops. You can type up your feedback of your peers, and you can be very productive doing creative writing from home, from your computer, from your laptop. So if you're a screenwriter, I think you're in good shape, and you can take some classes, and you can do some online education in writing, and you can get a lot out of it. Filmmaking, I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can tell me if any of you have done online filmmaking classes. Post in the comments later on and tell us how it went. So we're going to wrap up now. Thank you for all the great questions. The questions were fantastic. It was really nice to share my experiences and to talk to all of you. So I hope you were inspired. Somebody wrote in the comments, thank you, it was very inspirational. I hope you were inspired. I want you to try. Anything is possible. If you've done some animation and you've toyed around with some animation at home, go ahead and submit. If you have an idea for a short TV script or pilot or something, go ahead and submit. So follow your dreams. I've given you some tools to help you with that, and I wish you all the best. Don't give up. Keep trying. I know it's frustrating to get rejected. I get rejected all the time, and that's natural and that's normal, but you have to practice. You have to keep trying. And keep coming back to the American Center Moscow. We've got lots of presentations. We've got hackathons. We've got competitions. And hopefully, we'll have something for you that you find helpful. So have a great night. And